I think the global mood has changed, the strategic tensions have grown, the emphasis on national security and resilience has taken greater importance than purely efficiency, free trade, zero margins, and everything just in time. But I think the need to work together remains, even though you may be rivals, even though you may be competitors. So APEC's agenda has broadened. It's gone beyond trade. It's talked about the green economy. It's talked about digital transformation. It's talked about clean economies, meaning anti-corruption, because these are all factors which contribute to the prosperity of the region. And the membership has also increased, more participants, and I think, therefore, more complicated discussions. But still is valuable, and this year we made a little bit more progress because instead of declaring new visions for the future, which often happens at APEC meetings, the US hosts decided that they would focus on visions which have been declared in previous meetings. Putrajaya, then there's one in New Zealand, Aotearoa, and several others, and including last year in Bangkok, talking about the circular green economy. And to emphasize implementing those visions and deriving practical benefits from them, which I think is a good approach. And in this environment, it enables you to get some practical results and move a few steps forward. The two sides need to talk in order to manage the differences, in order to be able to cooperate where they need to cooperate. And day before yesterday's Xi Biden meeting was an important step in this direction. It does not mean that things will now get better and better. I hope things can now begin to stabilize and the two countries can continue to remain in close touch, many levels, but even at the highest levels, and therefore to keep things stable even as events develop in the world. Because, as you know, you have a meeting, you have understandings, and then things happen, and not everything which happens is anticipated, predictable, and then one thing leads to another, and you're in a new situation, and you have to deal with new problems. So I think they have to stay in close touch with one another. There will be issues which will arise. There are elections coming next year in the US, in Asia too. There are various hotspots which there can be developments. And so if they are in contact, I think you have a better chance of keeping things on an even keel. As for Singapore, in this environment of a less open, less predictable, less multilateral environment, we have no choice but to say we continue to depend on free trade, to depend on multilateralism, to work with other countries whom we can cooperate with in order that we can make a living for ourselves. That means you've got to export to America, you've got to attract investments from the US, you've got to do the same with China, you've got to do the same with ASEAN, with India, and be partners with them, all of them, even though they may not all be partners with one another. And that's what we have been doing, and that's one of the things which I have been doing on this trip here in San Francisco. On the IPEF, there's a trade pillar. I think the countries have been discussing the contents of the trade pillar and made substantial progress. But I think that looking at the state of play of the political scene in the US, they don't feel that they are able to push this across the finish line yet. So we understand that. We hope that they will be able to do that. Really, IPEF, in terms of trade, is something which is keeping the game going, but the real scoring is to come after that, is to enable the game to move forward and score beyond what the IPEF can deliver. So we're keeping the issue warm, and we hope that when the stars line up in a better position, we will be able to make more significant progress. what is particularly encouraging is that there are also Singaporeans here who are doing startups, their own companies, enterprises, entrepreneurs, and young men, young women too. And some of them, they started up their company here and they went back to Singapore and they started a branch and they're recruiting in Singapore and bringing the people here to work. So that's one way to do it, to go out to the world and do business where the world is. But the other way is to bring the companies into Singapore and make sure that Singapore stands up as an environment which is special, where they can do things they can't do elsewhere, and therefore they want to come to Singapore. We have to be open arms to bring people in. Of course, we have to make sure our infrastructure is there are enough houses, enough flats, enough train services and everything else, so that Singapore can accommodate all the people who want to be here. But even in a complicated world, there are opportunities, and we are not the last in queue to reach those opportunities. In fact, we're quite high up the list, and we should get further up.